Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello. All right. Welcome back. Thank you so much for returning. If you're brand new, we appreciate your time. Today, I've got an interesting one because today we are going to take a look at something very current that is going on, and it is the Tommy Tuberville stuff. Okay. There's two things. I'm going to give you the punchline now. And then and then I'm going to spend my time explaining why it is what it is. My punchlines are this. One, we manifest distortions over time. We do this through the process of scaffolding. There are many distortions going on right now. I'll explain. Don't worry. Stay tuned. I will explain. Number two, shortcuts become normal place. And once they are, going back to the ordinary way of things and not taking the shortcut is problematic. We are watching that play out right now, today, because of Tommy Tuberville. So let's give you a little bit of background. I'm going to frame it. For those of you who are watching along, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. And I'll try to make sure I put these links in the podcast description as well. So for those of you who can't see what we're doing, maybe later on you can go in and you can take a look at the links themselves. Okay. So first, let's go with back in, hold on, let me see. This is, February the 17th, 2023. This is the very beginning, the onset of this situation. Now, I went to Politico. A lot of you are going to be like, well, Politico sucks, or Politico's the most amazing, yay, whatever. Okay, I'm going to it because in February of 2023, this is what Politico said. Tommy Tuberville plans to jam up the Pentagon nominations in the Senate over new policies aimed at shoring up troops' access to abortion services. Why did I go all the way back to the very first article that I could find? Because I wanted to paint a picture. Where did this begin? What was this about at the beginning? Why? Because if we know where it started, we can kind of see into the story of why it is what it is. If we don't know its origin, how are we ever going to understand this scaffolding process, how it became what it is, right? What we become subjected to then is the distortions along the way. In other words, if we think this started in May, let's take a look at what May would look like. I'll frame this for you, all right? So in May, on May 5th, here we go. Sorry about these ads for those of you who follow along. On May 4th, sorry, not the 5th, May 4th, it was published. There was bipartisan group of former defense secretaries, including two served Donald Trump's administration. Of course, they're talking about Trump. This is the Washington Post. Okay, so here's what's most interesting, right? Even in this, they talk about the situation. It's a bipartisan group. Why is that a big deal? Because in May, the Republicans and the Democrats, many agreed that what Tommy Tuberville was doing was not going to be the best for our nation. Okay, why does that matter? Because play it out. I scroll down here a little bit further. There's a quote by Senator Jack Reed. All right. The longer this partisan stranglehold. Wait a minute. Didn't they just say it was a bipartisan? Okay. But whatever. There's contradiction in this own article. You can figure that one out on your own. Stranglehold on military promotions wears on, the more harm it does. This blockade is a profound attack on the professionalism of our military. It needs to end. Okay. So here I am. I'm going, okay, Okay, look, there's a couple of questions that come to my mind right away. Why can one senator stop this? That was my first question. And it brought me to unanimous consent. For those of you following along, I pulled that up on the screen. Unanimous consents have been going on since 1789. But if you read an article like this, by the way, this is out of senate.gov. Okay, why is that a big deal? It's the source, right? This is how the Senate works, right? So I go to the source and I say, what is unanimous consent? Why can one stop everything? Well, the truth is, one can't stop everything, period. When you read this is a little history for those of you who are following along. Feel free to go to it. I'll put the link in there. But one person can't stop it. This was a shortcut designed. This is how it works. So clinically, I'm asking, how does it work? This was a shortcut designed to move things along more efficiently. Okay, so we have an efficiency shortcut. Great, got it. All right, so then I go, oh, if this is how it works, then that must mean there's another way. There is. It's called record your votes, do a quorum verification. For those of you who don't know, essentially what that means is at any time, they could bring one at a time. They could bring these military folks. They don't even have to bring them in. They can just bring up their situation and they can do a vote. And they can record the vote of all those in favor, right? And all those opposed. And voila, they could all be confirmed. Okay, so unanimous consent agreements, those of you who are following along, I put up the unanimous consent definition. It's an agreement on any question or matter before the Senate that sets aside a rule of procedure to expedite proceedings. It's not the ordinary way of business. We would see unanimous consent on anything that doesn't bring up controversy. It's like, oh, hey, this is ordinary business. Let's take all of these military folks and let's put them in a batch and let's push them through and just say, everybody confirms, yes, no big deal. A unanimous consent, nobody says no, and it's pushed through. But when somebody objects, which brings us back to why did Tommy Tuberville object? And we would go back to that initial first article. Why was he objecting? He was objecting because of abortion stuff. So when you look at what's going on, the context on Politico, this is Politico, you can see in here that service members wait 20 weeks into pregnancy before notifying commanders. Ooh, that's a big deal. It also ties into, and if you go ahead and you read it, which I'm not going to waste your time reading it all because hopefully you're educated and you know how to read. But let me tell you, I'll put it on there so you can go look at the receipts. But it goes into explaining how the Department of Defense was authorizing taxpayer money being provided for service women to go to states where abortion was legal, even though that federally under the Constitution, it was determined to be in a federal case, not legal. Well, then what we end up with is taxpayers are paying for abortions. When you follow it and you trace that, that's what Tommy Tuberville is saying. He's saying we should not pay for abortions. So here's another solution. Let's take a look at solutions. I'll give you a few. One solution is if a servicewoman needs to have an abortion, they can pay it for it themselves. They can go to a state, they can get leave, they can go and they can pay for their abortion. But then you might be going, but that's one of the benefits of being in the military is you've got the good healthcare, right? You're supposed to be able to go get healthcare. That's the word anyway. All right. So you might be like, well, that's kind of messed up. Make them pay for it themselves. Yeah, you could argue that. It could also, when we're looking at solutions, another solution could be we read from the words of the Democrats. they could push them through one at a time. Now, here's where that runs into problems. It would bog down the system, making it harder for the Democrats to pass other things that they want to pass. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to do that, because that's how it works. So remember, I told you there was two things I wanted to address in here. Number one, manifesting of distortion. You saw between February and May. Now, I only gave you two examples, but trust me, there are many, many more. What I'm going to do now is I want to go into that manifesting of distortions just a little bit further, okay? I want to highlight to you some of the things that are being said. And apparently, I got to go back to here. I've got some of this on my phone. I'm looking at my phone right now because this is some stuff going down on Twitter. This is how that story that I just told you is getting distorted. Between February and May, everybody knew it was about abortion and abortion rights and abortion. Everybody knew. Between May and August, it has become this. Tuberville is making Putin and Xi, China, absolutely ecstatic. Army, Navy will be the latest services without a chief, as Senator maintains a block on confirmations. So now they're saying because of Tuberville blocking the confirmations. First of all, he's not blocking a confirmation. I'm giving you reality. You don't have to like it. If you can't see this, this is on you. But the way the system works is one senator can't block confirmation. Can't do it. It's not possible. What a senator can do is block the shortcut to confirmation. That's what a senator can do, because that's what unanimous consent was designed for. It could go through the recording of votes, the quorum verification. It could go through the regular process. But the Democrats don't want to do that. The Republicans, matter of fact, many Republicans, based on what I've been reading, many Republicans wish that they would go through and record the votes and just move these things along. Many Republicans wish that Tommy Tuberville wouldn't do this. And yet it's happening. So you have to deal with what's happening. People are also saying things like, he's doing it so that when Trump is installed, this is literal language, installed, he can fill the ranks with loyalists. What? This has nothing to do with that. This is about abortion. Go back to the origins. And this is the kind of distortion. So when we manifest distortions over time, we become prey to propaganda, demagoguery, and just repeating narratives we've heard or making up stuff. This is literally making up stuff. Okay. There's more. Let's go on. You've got, how can such a low-life mouth breather have this sort of power? That's somebody who does not understand the process. That's why I went over the process. Okay. We've got others saying our system shouldn't allow one man to cause this much damage. One man can't cause. Do you see how these distortions become reality? Now, in the clinical world, this happens all the time too. We have a couple that comes in and they have these shortcuts they've taken in their relationship, and they think that the shortcuts are the standard protocol. So they don't communicate about certain things. And then all of a sudden it hurts them. And they're like, but it was like this before. And yes, the original was we were communicating about it, because think about it. At the beginning of a relationship, we communicate, we over communicate, but then we communicate less and less and less, and we expect more and more and more. Those are called shortcuts. Those can be risky. They can work perfectly fine until all of a sudden they don't. And that's what we ran into here. Okay, so we're dealing with a shortcut in process that now is blocked, and people have to go back to the normal process. Look, there's a reason why in the clinical world, I go over this expectation all the time in communication. When things get chaotic, go back to the basics. the basics, folks. Yes, we have an engram here. We have an initial memory. Back in February, it was about abortion. And it has distorted and it's become something else. This stuff happens all the time, folks. And if you're not willing to do a little bit, I did not do much preparation today. Maybe 30 minutes. So I do a lot more prep than this normally. It did not take me very long to figure this one out. I literally just went, I sorted by date so that I could get the earliest articles, so that I knew the beginnings, the manifestation, the initial paradigm, the engram, the beginning memory. And then I looked at some since, and I saw the beginnings of the distortion. By the way, that was right around May. It started to get distorted because people were starting to get frustrated. Why? Because that's when we started to get a backlog. And people started to realize that, wow, if we had just confirmed the 10 or so that we had, we could have gotten them through bang, 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 bang. It wouldn't have taken very much time. But now we've got 100 or hundreds or whatever it is that many of them are saying. And unfortunately, now they know it's going to cost a lot of time. And now the Democrats are pissed. And I get it. I totally get it, because they kicked the can down the road to the point where now it is going to be very time consuming and they will miss opportunities to do other things. So there you go, folks. Take a look at these things. They're interesting, all right? But they do highlight some things that are relationally challenging. One, we manifest distortions. And if you can't see that, you got to open your eyes, please. This is, again, I know I say this a lot, but this isn't about political takes for me. It's about understanding, growing, being better at what you are, who you are, what you do, and who you do it with. You've got to take these very basic steps. It's really not that complicated in some of these situations. This one's not complicated. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. Have a good one. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.